I am from Chicago, and I am a fitness, femininity, and voice coach. That's the short of it. Basically, a life transformation coach because you got to start here before you start out here. And you can find me on Instagram at Complete Package Coaching. My website is completepackagecoaching.com. And also my YouTube channel, Margarita the Perfumista.
So take us right from the genesis. How did you get started doing this and why?
So what's interesting is I started as a performance coach back in 1997. People wanted me to give them voice lessons. I'm a singer, first and foremost, singer and songwriter, and people liked what they heard and they wanted me to teach them. So I was actually a child when I started my coaching company in 97. And what happened was it ballooned beyond what I could have imagined. I started training people for major events. I've coached people who were contestants in Miss Black USA, people on American Idol, The Voice, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, like big shows, and also people who are doing more local things. I don't have a preference of, big shows versus smaller events. If you want to improve your performance, I'm here for you. And what I noticed in a lot of my female clients were that they could sing and they can dance, but they had no poise. They had no likability, no way to really engage and interact. And what people don't understand is that when you're a performer, people have to like you. People like a lot of people who honestly suck talent wise, but because they're likable or relatable, they have fans. So I was like, well, we need to offer more than just voice and stage coaching. People need to know how to interact in the real world and with clients or in relationships. And so it kind of started from there. It ballooned from there. And then people started asking me for more life coaching and what's going wrong with this and what's going wrong with that. Why am I failing in my relationships? Why can't I find the right person? Because they've seen how my life has changed over the years. I used to be someone who was a horrible picker when it came to guys. I will pick everybody but the right person. Now, fast forward today, I've been happily married for over 15 years. And so people who have seen my transformation, both physically, mentally, and just when the results I'm getting in life, they want to know why and they want to know how. And so I added that as a service. So now I offer femininity coaching and relationship coaching. So it just started from the music into, oh, you need to be more than this and that, which is why the company is called Complete Package. You have to be a complete package if you want to be successful in life. You can't just be one thing. You have to have all the pieces working together completely as a package.
I want to say, first and foremost, congratulations on that transition and the
Thank you.
expansion of
Thank
that.
you.
One thing I want to say, as you're sharing that, is I 100% agree. When I was in my 20s, I had no idea what I was doing when it came to dating. No idea. Plus, I was broke, so it made it even worse. But what I did realize was I had an idea of what I wanted. I just didn't know how to get what I wanted.
Mhm.
And some of the clients that you're working with, is that a struggle that they have where they've designed this life, the end result, but they don't
Mhm.
know how to create the path towards that goal?
That coupled with, because I coach women mostly, coupled with some unrealistic expectations. And so there's a lot of the things that it's a lot of, okay, well, I see we can ask for the moon, but if we get a few stars, that's still good. Even though we don't get the moon, it's okay that we still got some stars. We can make a little constellation over here. It's one of those things. So with women versus men, men are more practical. Women are more whimsical. We believe in the purple unicorns. Men are like, that's a horse. Okay, we can get a horse. We're gonna get. And so that's what I think is a big disconnect. So yes, while there are, people need a roadmap, you can't be trying to get to a place that doesn't exist either, if that makes sense.
I absolutely agree because there are some times as I'm older now, I look at some of the women I've been on dates with, and they'll say, I'll share a story. There's one girl I went on a date with, and it was a second date, and we didn't even kiss at this point, right? It was just we had dinner, and she's like, Terrain, I really like you. I'm like, you know what, young lady, I like you too. Like, you're pretty, you're nice, blah blah blah. You even paid half the bill, and and she said, okay, this is my goal for the relationship. I was okay. Let me know it. She said, in 6 months, I want to be married. In 9 months, I want to have a kid. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, are we gonna have sex first? Like, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, to, she totally caught me off guard because that's a lot to drop on someone on the second date. And it goes back to your point when you
Absolutely.
said unrealistic expectations. Is it more so the outcome, or is it more so the type of guy where like he has to be 6 feet, six figures, and of course he has to have 6 inches when it comes to the expectations?
It's a resounding yes for everything. Also, the timelines can be unrealistic because we have this proverbial biological clock that seems to be ticking, and men don't have that typically physically. Men can have children as long as they're able to be productive. I'll put it that way. Whereas for us, usually after 40, the chances typically diminish. So I do think that we have to understand who we're selling to. I see relationships and dating as clients and customers. I have a huge marketing background. That's like what my day job had been for years. And so we have to understand as women when we're telling men our expectations, especially when the early stages of dating, we have to appeal to our consumer first before we drop in all the hidden fees. Let's sell him on the features first before we tell him before we read the fine print. So it's like that. It's like, yeah, you could want to have your child in this time and be in this time, and things could eventually flow. I'll tell you this, me and my husband married after 3 months, so it's possible. It is possible to have a quick timeline, but I think because I was so willing to not put him under all this pressure in the beginning is what made him more willing to move faster with me. I think that's what it was. But when you just do this whole dump on him at the dinner table, and you all haven't even exchanged last names yet, like, you know what? I'm good. Yeah. It's about
To this
timing. Yeah.
Yeah, to this day, I don't even think I knew her last name. I don't even remember her first name now. It's to the point where when you have like trauma and you just put it in the closet, you close the door, you lock it, and off it goes. I
Yeah.
think it was probably one of those moments. And you mentioned 3 months, and I've
Yes.
heard that as well from a couple of other people where it's like it's not necessarily the length of time that you know the person, it's the
Mhm.
quality of the time that you know the person. Would you say that is true?
Absolutely. In our dating phase, when I met him, I was actually in a relationship. I met him at my escape place. Let's just say that. And my escape place was we were skating. And so he would be someone who frequented the rink, and he was so polite. And he would make certain little comments that would be so cute as he rolled past. And I was with someone who I should not have been with for several years. And I told him that, I really appreciate the compliments, but I am with someone, even though that relationship was terrible. So a few months went past. He would still always be very respectful, but say some cute little things. And he piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, he's consistent. So once I finally got free of the devil's son who I was with before, I told him, I let him know. I was like, if the offer still stands, I'm amenable to it. And we went out that same day. And we had a great time, and we just let everything flow. And then 3 months later, we're like, yeah, this is gonna work. This
Was there a conversation to understand where you wanted things to go?
there was. I asked him, oddly enough, on the second date, I asked him, what are we going to make of this? Because I will be honest now, because so much time has passed. He had me wrapped around his finger after the first date. I was so smitten. And it was honestly because of what built up to it, because of his consistency, yet respectfulness for my situation, regardless of what it was. He was just always expressing an interest in a very polite and very cute way. So he had my attention because most guys will come up and be very vulgar when they're interested in someone, or they'll just be like, "Oh, well, forget you then." They'll be mean if you say that you're not interested at that time. I've had a guy throw a brick at me once because I told him I had a boyfriend. So I had to like matrix dodge this. And so that helped. And then I asked him what he wanted, and he says, I'll tell you what, let's continue on the path we're on and see where it leads us. And because I really wanted to be with him, and he was someone who I knew was way better than anything I had, and honestly out of my league at the time, I'm like, okay, I was willing to trust and allow him to lead and take that chance, if you will, to see where it went. And it led right to forever. So I have no regrets about not putting him under these constraints.
That is so beautiful. And that's a lesson for all of us who are looking to find love in all the right places, because I think we spend too much time trying to find it in all the wrong places. And
Mhm,
even you had that situation, as you mentioned, you were with someone for years. And the beautiful
mhm,
thing that I liked what you said is that even though your previous relationship wasn't what you expected and it didn't turn out the other way, you didn't make the future person pay the price. And I think a lot of times,
mhm,
what we do in relationships is that when we come out of a bad one, the baggage carries forward, and that next person who is innocent of it all,
mhm.
they pay the price. Do you find that with the women you help as well?
I find that true with myself. Now he paid some prices too. He paid some prices, but I will say that eventually I learned to stop charging him for someone else's sins. In the beginning, I was very skeptical. I had honestly written off relationships with from my ex. It was that bad. It was terrible. And I was stuck on stupid. I blame myself for I can't blame the other party without blaming myself. I have to take responsibility because I stuck in it. And so I did come with some emotional baggage, some heavy baggage. And that baggage lasted for quite some time, actually. But he was strong enough and willing enough and compassionate enough to help me work through my own baggage. He helped me heal, which a lot of people are not willing to do, which made me appreciate him even more, especially in hindsight. Like he didn't have to put up with all this stuff I poured on him, but he saw enough in me that I didn't even see in me, to help me heal. And in turn, I would have been able to help him heal because women are worse on men than men are on us as far as the emotional component. We didn't realize the trauma we put men through. So it was a mutual beneficial thing. But yes, we do put people through the ringer when we have, previous traumas. But it is a crime that we should not continue to perpetuate. We should allow people to have a clean slate because that's what we want. The first thing women say is, she did that. Why can't you trust me? That's not me, that's me. But then at the same time, we're looking at him side eye for the same thing. There's a double standard there. So yes, we should learn to not charge people for other people's sins. Yes, I agree.
I work with women who are trying to find love, and they're a little bit older. They're probably 50 plus.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them will ask the question, they make the statement saying that they're too old for love. And I'm like, love doesn't have an expiry and it doesn't have an age. You can find it at any time in your life.
Can you please talk to
And
my mom because she don't listen to me? Okay, I'm gonna, mom, if
Mama
you're
Margo,
watching this, right?
my
Listen,
email is behind the shade.
look, I'm gonna
Reach
send this to
out.
my mom. Like, listen.
Absolutely. But that's the beautiful thing about it, because they're probably, I think as you get older, you know exactly what you want. Well, let me take that back. As you get older, you should know exactly
Right.
what you want. And I remember, although I struggled in dating when I was in my 20s, it was simpler, right? Because it was like, hey, Margo, I like you. You're pretty. You want to go to McDonald's because that's all I could afford, right?
Now they got this
Now
whole list of places you can't take.
there's a whole list, right? You can't bring it to the cheese factory.
I'm like, I would be happy to go to all these places. These are some of my favorite places.
Oh yeah, oh
The
yeah. I was
movies
at the
that I should
point where,
I'm like,
yeah,
yes. One fact, I got a movie date tonight. We have date nights, and yet we're going for movie and ice cream, and I am here for it. Okay,
oh
look,
yeah. I'm all for that. I think it should be something to get back to. Get back to the simpler approach, because
yes.
I know when we first started speaking behind the scenes in the green room, you mentioned femininity and masculinity, and I know
Mhm.
there's this debate between the two because everyone has feminine and masculine energy. Every person walking this earth, right? But I think
Mhm.
sometimes we allow it to prevent us from what we would want out of life. So, when you defined it, what is your view of femininity and how does it apply when it comes to relationships?
Well, when it comes to relationships in particular, femininity means that you have to stand down, you have to submit. And when people don't like those words, because submission, people often assume that it means slavery and servitude. And it's like, no, it's allowing the stronger one to lead and working together, submitting to the plan. It's like, for example, your mate, your man is supposed to be three things: your protector, provider, and priest. Men are genetically, physically stronger than women. They're designed to protect us physically. If there's a loud sound in the night, I'm not going to check it out. He's going to go check that out. And in general, in mammals, um, The female is smaller than the man, and the male in general. When you look at animals, any type of mammalian species, the female is designed to be smaller and less strong than the man. We need to understand that. So that tells us the order, the hierarchy right there. Just like animals run in packs, usually the stronger ones are the alphas, and everybody falls in their place. Everybody has a great role to play, but everybody can't be the alpha. The man is the alpha of that house. So he's the protector. He's also the provider. Even if there is a difference in income, even if the woman makes more than the man from an income perspective, he's still the provider, because I'm not fixing the leaky faucet. I'm not protecting this house. I'm not going to investigate when the grass needs to get cut. I'm not taking out the trash. There's still a lot of things provided. When there's certain structure, men provide structure. When the children need to be chastised, they're going to typically respect their father more than the mother. If they don't, that's a problem. My mom would threaten me. Like, my parents separated when I was very young. My father was very active, still is. Anytime I got out of line with my mom, she would threaten to call my dad, and that's all she had to do. The phone call with my dad was enough to get me like, no, 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 I'll stop. And it's the same way, that's how it should be. You should have that fear of your parents. My mom is crazy too, but but the fear, and I'm not even gonna call it fear, the level of respect that I have for my father. Even though my mom was a single mother, she still made sure that I knew, you respect your father. This is still the man. This is still our provider, our protector, and our priest, because I have this child. And a lot of women don't teach their children that. Even if the father's not in the house, he is still your father. You're going to respect him. He is still doing for you, even though the relationship didn't work out. So there's that. And then there is the priest. The priest, that is the one whose advice you go to. That is the one who tells you what should be going on. No, a woman who is in a relationship should never value the advice of anyone outside that home more than her man's. You don't make major decisions without consulting him first. All of those types of things. So the man has three roles. If he is not given his respect in those three areas, the relationship will not work.
Do you believe that there's a disconnect, maybe because some of the men aren't able to assume that type of role in the relationship?
There could be a disconnect, but it has to do, in my opinion, largely with the lack of submission on the part of the female. We are so busy trying to impose our will upon him that we're not even giving him a chance to be these things. And then the first thing we do is we call him one of two words that are both overly used: narcissistic and toxic. Those two words I hear thrown around so much, and I'm like, that's not even that's not applicable. I hear the word narcissist so much, and honestly, women are more narcissistic than men are when it comes to the true definition of the word. And it's just one of those things where as soon as we don't get our way, oh, you're a narcissist. You hate women. You're shaming us. You're toxic when we don't get our way. We throw these tantrums. But when men ask for something that they want, and they only really want three things: they want us to look nice. They want us to be peaceful. Like, we want to be his peace, basically. Don't come fighting me. Be cooperative. And they want us to just respect them. That's typically the three things that men, if we can start there, relationships can be a whole lot better, and we're not willing to do that. The first thing we want to do is come and combat him as soon as he comes in the door about what we want, not even considering what he wants. And then we go call the police when we don't get our way. So many domestic issues are started by women. My father's a retired police officer for almost 30 years. And a lot of the calls are domestics. And then when you listen to what happened, the woman started it, and she's winning up calling the police because she can't finish what she started. Yeah.
I have heard that, where there's that like imbalance when it comes to the relationship, and then there's this anytime it escalates, it appears, at least from the officer's side, that many of the times the woman was started, because I think sometimes what people forget is that usually the order of the escalation is verbal, emotional, then physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And men tend to be more physical because, as you mentioned, they're bigger, they're stronger in general. And if someone's going to attack you, or if a woman's going to attack you, one of the first things, or their weapon of choice, is reputational damage.
Yep.
Right? Which is why the verbal is so strong, because anyone listening to this, if you remember high school, everyone knew who the mean girls were. They knew that clique, they knew that circle, and you had to be in the upper echelon of high school to be able to be a part of that group. One thing I want to say when it came to the female and the male dynamic in relationships is that I do agree with you that we would want, at least from a male perspective, the woman to inspire us to be the protector, inspire us to be the provider, inspire us
Mhm.
to be the priest. Because if something is going wrong in the relationship, oftentimes you hear a man say that, okay, let's talk about it. Don't go to your family, don't go to your friends, don't go to
Mhm.
these other things, right? Because I think some people tend to go to their single friends who don't know what they're doing because that's why they're single.
Yep.
So, how dangerous is it for men or women to go outside of their relationship, outside of the marriage, and seek the advice of some of these people who haven't been able to hold a serious relationship and who throw around the words toxic and narcissist often?
I think it's very, very dangerous. And I say that because there's a common sense rule. My mom says common sense isn't common. But my thing is this: anytime we go to anyone for advice about anything, it's usually because we see them manifesting the results that we'd like to have. You know, you go to someone who is financially savvy when you ask about money. You go to someone who has a great job if you want to know how to get a good job. But when it comes to relationships, we ask everybody but people who are in successful relationships for relationship advice. And people don't understand that misery loves company. Um, so here's a story. When I first started dating my husband, one of my best friends at the time did not like that I was spending less time with her and more time with him. Now, granted, she was in a relationship several years too, but she was someone who was not very honoring of said relationship. She liked to party still, and she liked to carry herself in a way that was not representative of a woman who was practically married, you know, with several children. And so when I started hanging out with him more, she actually lied on him to me and told me that he had approached her first before he came to me. And for a second, I was like, wow, that dirty dog. Like, I can't believe that he would talk to my best friend first. And then when she declined him, you know, she tried to talk to me. But what I did was I asked him about it first. And I said, you know what? Such and such told me a funny thing today. And I'm just coming to you first to see, to check the validity of it. And he told me that's not even something I would say. And when I thought about it, I'm like, no, that isn't something he would say. And then he was like, she's probably just, you know, jealous that we're not spending time together. Come to find out, that's exactly what had happened. She just wanted to spend more time with me by lying on him. And I'm just like, wow, any other woman, or I'm not saying most women today would go and just side with the friend, not even give the man a chance to explain himself or to clarify anything, and would just go on with their friend who just wanted them to be out and party and hang out and live that single life. And that's what happens. We go to everybody but who we should for life-changing advice. So I have a motto. Don't ask people who don't have or are not doing what you want or what you want to have. Only ask people for advice who have something or who are doing something that you want to have or do. Otherwise, their advice is irrelevant. So don't go to your single friends, don't go to your bitter relatives and parents and aunties and stuff like that. Those are some of the worst. You know, a lot of people have, you know, you have that sometimes it could be mothers who are bitter, or it can be aunts or cousins who can't seem to, they couldn't hold a man if he was stuck with super glue, you know, just couldn't. But they have all this advice in the world, or they have this group of friends who are for the streets, you know, and they have a new flavor of the week, you know, and this is who you're going to. Of course, they're going to corroborate anything that keeps you in their circle. It's like crabs in a barrel. They're going to pull you down, and people cannot stand to see other people winning. They can't be happy. No. So, no, if you go to, you stay in house. We don't air out our dirty laundry. If there's an issue, we talk to each other about it first. That's where it starts. Because usually things can be nipped in the bud by going straight to the source.
For those who are watching on YouTube, Facebook, and my social media, remember to share, like, and subscribe for more incredible interviews like the one we have with Margo. And we will be back for more. So stay